You touched on it a little bit there. Could you speak a little bit about your role with the alternative school? I recognize some of it might be, you need to be careful a little bit with details and stuff, but just what your job was, how you found yourself there, and maybe what some of the lessons were. Because it sounds like it had certainly an impact on the stories you want to write, on your understanding of things. What was that? What was that like?
Yeah. It's so difficult to summarize because it completely changed me. I had throughout university been working in bookshops, did my master's in creative writing, went on to work in a bookshop warehouse, and I had these ideas. I'd written about 7 novels, all of which had been rejected by agents, and then 7th was accepted by the agent, and then the man on the endless stair was my 8th. So I'd experienced so much rejection, and I'd had an expectation about how my life would turn out in the literary sphere. And then I find myself working in a bookshop warehouse, wrapping books, and I was doing work with neurodivergent young people in a theatre as well, in my free time. And then the role came up for the Edinburgh Book Festival, working as a writer in residence in an alternative school. So I was employed by the Edinburgh Book Festival to work in the alternative school as a creative writing facilitator. And it aligned a lot of my interests. So I applied for it. Funny thing is, we've spoken about jiu-jitsu. I had a black eye for my interview because I've been accidentally kneed in the face in the Olympics before. Yeah, I know. But the great thing is, it was perfect timing because there was a young lad in the interview from the alternative school, about 14 years old. And he takes one look at me and he goes, he sees the black eye and he goes, I run things around it. And he goes, I like you. I think you got the job. And this is a 14-year-old kid, and he probably didn't run things, but I did get the job. So,
I bet it had influence.
Oh, sure, yeah. And then I moved from Oxford to Edinburgh and started working in the alternative school, and that gave me something to write about. I've been playing with these ideas in the past, but working in the alternative school, I think just I took on a lot of lessons, and started kind of interrogating the nature of trauma and how it arises, and became very interested in those ideas. And I'm just a writer. Let me say that. Like, there are youth workers who live in these communities and whose whole life it is to help these young people, and have been doing it for years and years and years. I was only there for 2 years, but what I learned in those 2 years was incredibly valuable, not only from the young people, but from the youth workers there as well. And just, a recognition that you have to go the long way round a lot of the time. You have to learn your lesson. You have to let go. I had a rigid idea of what it meant to be a writer. And through working at the alternative school, I understood that the journey I thought it was going to be is actually misguided. And who am I to think that I can dictate my path, with that level of certainty and rigidity? What's wonderful is that, I did end up publishing the novel, but it happened quite coincidentally. I wasn't, I met my publisher at a party, and I didn't know that the person I was speaking to at the party was the head of this publishing house. And it just arose. I was speaking to this to the publisher as the writer in residence for the alternative school, and I was speaking about the young people and the process of learning and growing and changing with the young people, and then it turns out the publisher not only works for this publishing house, but actually built the hut which I stayed in on an island, where I wrote some of the novel. So it's called Sweeney's Bothy on Egg. And I stayed in that bothy for a little bit and wrote some of the ideas that went into The Man on the Endless Stair. And it turned out that my publisher had actually built that bothy. So it's lots of these kind of synchronous, coincidental things which just arose without me searching, without me grasping, without me having an expectation. They just popped up. And lots of coincidences. And when these things happen, I'm a great fan of Kurt Vonnegut. Kurt Vonnegut says, when baffled by the strange, mysterious workings of the universe, all you can say is busy, busy, busy. So I've been saying busy, busy, busy a lot. Yeah.
So, and with that, I would interpret that to mean that you don't. What do you mean by busy, busy, busy? How would you understand that? To keep working, to keep moving forward?
No, it's sort of the opposite. It's kind of saying, let go and understand that the cogs turning in the universe are kind of multiple, random, and completely beyond your grasp. And when things go a particular way, which is satisfying to you, you say, busy, busy, busy. Because the strangeness of what's the likelihood that my publisher that I bumped into at a party had helped build the bothy that I wrote the story in? Like, what are the odds of that?
So just synchronicity there is just unbelievable.
So you just say busy, 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 because the universe is doing something, and all you can do is just kind of shrug and go, oh, great, wow. Find the wonder.
Do you believe in purpose and synchronicity at all? Do you believe that there is any kind of form and order to it all?
So that's really an interesting question. What are your thoughts first before I?
Oh, I again, it's another dichotomy that I think depends on what day you ask me, what time of day it is, kind of thing. I'll have different, and especially what's happened recently, because sometimes in my life there have been moments, as you were describing there, of just insanely unlikely things that have happened, and it's just almost felt like it was meant to be. Mm-hmm. And then other times, I think there's just we live in this chaotic, crazy universe. A tectonic plate shifts. There's an earthquake which causes a tsunami, and it's just suddenly carnage. And I don't know, honestly. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think anyone does.
No.
I would recommend 2 books. Analytic Idealism in a Nutshell by Bernardo Kastrup, and Atom and Archetype. Have you heard of Atom and Archetype?
No.
So Atom and Archetype is a collection of letters between the Nobel Prize winning physicist Wolfgang Pauli and Carl Jung, in which they discussed the phenomenon of synchronicity.
Jung believed in synchronicity.
Oh yeah, and so did Wolfgang Pauli, and had lots of direct experience of it. And this is a Nobel Prize winning physicist, so he knows
a few things.
It's important to mention that. And so in Atom and Archetype, they discuss what Pauli and Jung actually, but the letter is 37p, and Pauli calls it an acausal order, an order of meaning, essentially, which seems to operate outside of linear time. linear chronological time. He calls it the acausal order, the order of meaning, and associates this with meaningful coincidence. So if people are interested in these ideas, that would be a book I'd recommend, Atom and Archetype. And something to dig into, but maybe not now, is the journey which one goes through in order to end up aware of genuine synchronicity. Because the notion of synchronicity can actually be quite perilous, because if we don't have a full understanding of what it means, then we can end up convincing ourselves of all sorts of stuff and say, oh, well, there's this acausal order which is telling me to do this thing. And, then you end up maybe not doing stuff which is healthy or helpful to oneself and others.